So if you've ever built software or, hey, even just used it, you know there's this constant dance. How do you roll out cool new features without, breaking everything for everyone? Well, today, we're diving into these awesome automated safety nets called release gates, which help development teams do exactly that. And that's the million-dollar question, right? We all love getting the latest updates, but nobody wants to be the person whose app suddenly starts crashing. It's this high-wire act that dev teams have to perform every single day. So how do they pull it off safely? First things first, let's talk about why this is such a big deal. Pushing new code out into the wild, well, it's risky business. You're messing with a complex system that people are using right now, and a tiny mistake can cause big problems. And that's really the heart of it. Doing a big bang release where every single user gets the update at the exact same time is just asking for trouble. Think about it. If there's some sneaky bug hiding in there, it's not just a problem for a few people. It's suddenly a problem for everybody. Okay, so to really get how we solve this, we're going to follow a single new feature on its journey. We're going to trace its path from the moment a developer finishes writing the code, all the way to the live app you might have on your phone. All right, our hero for today is this project, an e-commerce app called eShop on Web. Let's imagine the team just cooked up some amazing new feature they're super excited about. They're ready to get it out to their customers. So what happens next? Well, that feature has to travel down a path we call a release pipeline. First, the code gets all built and packaged up. Then, and this is key, it gets sent to a dev test environment. You can think of this like a private playground, a safe little sandbox where the developers can poke and prod at the new feature without affecting any real users. Only after it proves itself there does it get the green light to go to production. That's the live app we all use. Now, the very first safety check in this whole process is actually a person. Before that new code can even get into the testing playground, a real human being has to look at it and say, yep, this is good to go. Yeah, this is what we call a pre-deployment approval. It's a deliberate pause in the action. Maybe a project manager or a senior developer has to give the final thumbs up. They have the power to hit approve or reject, making sure everyone's confident that this thing is ready for the next step. It's our first and very important manual gate. But here's where things get really cool. What if we could make our safety net even smarter? What if it could watch over things all by itself? This is where we bring in the star of the show, the automated guardian. And that guardian is called a release gate. It's basically an automated checkpoint. So instead of relying on a person to spot a problem, the system itself automatically checks if the application is healthy and meeting certain standards. If something looks wrong, bam, the process stops cold. It takes human error out of the equation and lets pure data make the call. And these gates are super versatile. I mean, look at what they can do. They can automatically check the monitoring system to see if any error alerts are firing. They can check your issue tracker to make sure there isn't a spike in new bugs. They can even call out to other systems to ask, hey, are you feeling okay? It's like having a super vigilant robot watching your back 24/7. Okay, so let's put this all together. Let's see how our automated guardian actually saves the day in our little eShop on Web story. This is where it gets good. All right, so our new feature got its manual approval. Thumbs up, it's now live, but only in that safe dev test environment. So far, so good. Everything looks like it's going according to plan. But uh-oh, lurking under the surface, there's a sneaky bug in the new code. It's not crashing the whole app, but it's causing some requests to fail. It's a serious problem that's just starting to bubble up. And this is the moment. The automated monitoring system, which is always watching, sees these failed requests start to stack up. It doesn't hesitate. It immediately starts firing off alerts. The system's alarm bells are ringing. And now we're at the critical moment, the decision point. Our release gate was set up to check for exactly this kind of alert, and it sees them. So, because those alerts were detected, the gate fails. And what's the action? The deployment to production is immediately halted. That buggy code is stopped dead in its tracks. It's not going anywhere near a real user. And just like that, disaster averted. The bug was caught red-handed in the testing environment and was blocked from ever causing a single real customer any grief. The system protected itself, and more importantly, it protected its users. That's the power of the gate. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? It means we can have the best of both worlds. We can build and release new software quickly, but in a way that is fundamentally smarter and way, way safer. The payoff is just huge. The development team gets an immediate automatic heads up about the problem. They can then jump in, fix the bug, and send the corrected version right back through that same safe automated pipeline. And through it all, the live production app, the one everyone is using, stays perfectly stable and reliable. And this whole idea really just reinforces a core best practice in the software world. You want to expose new updates in phases, you roll it out to a small group, you watch what happens, you look at the data, and you only move forward when you're sure it's safe. It's all about being careful and methodical, not just rushing to the finish line. In the end, it's this combination of human checkpoints and automated guardians that creates this amazing safety net. It lets teams move fast and innovate without breaking things. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What kind of automated checks could make the projects and software you depend on every day even safer?
Hi everyone. In this section of the lab, we are going through control deployment using release gates. So very first thing we have connected to Azure DevOps portal and then create a service connections. And to how to create a service connections, I have already presented this into few other labs. So let's import the required GitHub repository for this lab. So the very first thing we need to go to this project, and under this project you can see the DevOps related tools on your backside like Git. So here repositories and click on files and then import that repository, particular repository that we are going to work on. So that clone URL, pass the URL link and then select import. So after successful import, you will see that the repository structure here. There are different folders and files which relate to like Azure DevOps YAML pipelines or biceps and ARM infrastructure as code templates. And that also it has got like GitHub or workflow or different other folders which is required for our tasks. So now let's make the main branch as a default branch. For that, here is the repository. Click on branch, and then here main ellipse button, then set as default branch. Now we are going to configure continuous integrations pipeline. So therefore we need to go to that pipeline section, go to pipelines, and then click on pipelines. Then click the create pipeline to create your first pipeline. And here we are going to select like what is your code. It's in our case that is Azure repos git. Select that options, and here select the repository pen. Select that eShop web, and next on the configure your pipeline. In this sections, scroll down at the bottom. You see that existing Azure pipeline YAML file. We need to select that options, and here that path. Select that file that is add your eShop on web-ci.yml file, and when that file is selected and just make sure that branch is under main branch. So branch is main and select that file and then select continue. Now from this review your pipeline screen, you can go through to get that one which I have like mentioned or discussed few times in our previous lessons. So you can go through all the sections, then click on run here to start the build pipeline. You can see that pipeline is not started build, so but it's in progress. You can refresh the page or open into new window. but you can click and you can see that build is progressing. Wait for build pipeline to complete. Let me back when that complete, and you can see the status from your backside. If you click, it will give you that specific uh, uh, jobs, if I say, or pipeline tasks, so you can get output on your side screen. So you can see build completed. So now let's go back to the pipeline and rename this pipeline some meaningful name. So here lips button, and then it's the rename options, and rename this pipeline to each of the web CI, and then click on save. So now we are going to create Azure resource for the release pipeline. So let's open a separate tab and go to the portal, Azure portal, log in there. Now here click on Cloud Shell, and when you see the options that either Bash or PowerShell, select Bash, and from the Bash prompt you can see that this pan, and then we need to pass the subscription value and then apply. Now we're going to create a resource group, passing two variables region and resource group name. Then we are going to give the app service plan name. I'm going to create after that. So first service plan name, and then execute the command. Now going to create two web apps with unique names. So that has been created. Now close this Cloud Shell pan. Now we are going to configure an application insight resources. For that one, to Azure portal, search for application insights. Now here select on create. Uh, Select subscription, select resource group, then give a name. Here we are going to give them dev test web app that we created before. Dev test. And the same region that we where we deployed the web apps, that is Australia East. Let me get the value from portal. So here I'm going to duplicate this portal and get these values. So this is the app service. And that is Australia East. And then now click review and create. And then click on validation is still in progress. Now click on create. And it's in progress now. Wait for the provisioning process to complete. So here we see that deployment is complete. And now let's go back to the portal. And from portal, you navigate to this you see the tab service. There's a dev and test. So select that dev test web app. And here on left side under monitoring, select that application insights. And now the option is coming that enable to enable. So select the turn on application insights. And now here you can see that link to application insight resources. Go through all this section to get to know about all the options available. And if you go down below here, you can see that select existing resource. So select that one. And you can see the subscription, and down below you can see this one and that resource name. So this is a newly created one. And then select on apply. And it's prompt for apply monitoring settings. Select yes. Apply changes in progress. I'll be back when that is ready. So I see that changes are applied now. So from there now you can see that application inside page. So under the resource group, you can see that application insights. Select that application insights. Application dashboard. Okay, that's not available. Maybe that's lab limitations. So if I go to app service, from there if I go to application insights and then view application insights data, select that one. And under monitoring, you can see that there's an option called alerts. So select that alert. Now here you see that create alert rule. So select that create alert rule. And under condition section, signal name, There you can see that see all signals. So select that options, and there may be many options available. So type here for requests and select that metric failed request. So we have selected failed request here and alert logic. So here alert logic section threshold type is static, aggregation type is count, operation is greater than, unit is count, and threshold value is 0. Then click next. It's under actions section. There are three options available. Um, Option is your action groups. Select action group, but we create that one. So in this action section, we are just taking all the default value, not changing anything. Then go into details section. Then there is a severity. So let's put 2 into warning. Give a alert rule name. And advanced option, you expand that one. There are two options available. Enable upon creation settings automatically resolve alerts. So um, just clear that one. We are not passing tags, so click on review and create, and then click on create. So let's wait this alert rule to be created. It has been created very quick. So alert rule created. Now we are going to create a release pipeline. So for that, let's go to DevOps portal. Go to pipeline, under pipelines, then click on new pipeline. Now here, this connect option, we always select Azure Repos Git in our case. Let me find out the template options here. We are going to this time release pipeline. So let's go to pipeline and then go to this under is that release section. And here under release pipeline, we're going to create. So click new pipeline. Now it's coming selected template in the window. Here we need to select that Azure App Service Deployment under featured and click on apply. So now here it's coming like stage sections and we need to give a name. So give a stage name dev test. Then close this pop-up window. And this here, new release pipeline. Give a name this one like shop on web cd. And this dev test options here. Is the properties. Close that one. Select this clone option. And this clone, give a name. So give a name. This one is production. So release will happen first into dev and test, and then it will be into production. Close this option. So now we can see that stages, under stages, there are two stages. Now one is dev and test, and another one is production. So now here on artifacts side, you see this circle. So select that add an artifacts. And from here, select the project name. Under source section build pipeline, select the pipeline we are working. And here it's coming like default version latest source alias. Just select add now to confirm the selection. Now select this continuous deployment trigger. So here for the first one, this disable, select that enabled, leave all other settings default, and then close this pane. Now we are going to configure a dev test test. So for that one, within this dev test environment, you see that one job and one task. Select that options. Now stage name is dev test, and then under Azure subscription drop down, select subscription, and then click on authorize. So select the app service name now. This is dev test. And then after that, select this deploy Azure app service. Then in the down here, right side, you see that package or folder. Replace with the defined value. And then under application and configuration settings, under app settings, replace with the value. Now let's go back to run on agent section, and here mm, under agent pool section, find the options here. We have got that hosted Windows 2019, also Azure pipelines. In that case, we have to select pipeline. So go back to default one, my pool. If I give that my pool, so let's select that hosted one. And if we go down below, what other values that we need to set up? So let me open the document again. Um, this lab, like as usual, I am following that Microsoft Learn lab. So I'll pass the link into description section. So I'm doing this stage now. So let me move to other side, other window. So now let's go back to down for web stage. So we are going to set for now production stage. So select this one job, one task for production one. Again, under the Azure subscription, select the Azure subscription. And this is still production, but we are selecting the right subscription. Then click authorized here. But app type is web app on Windows. And this should be app service name. So click that authorize first. Server's connection creation failed. And then select the prod one. And then here is that deploy Azure App Service task. Select that one. And package or folder, update with this value. And then under application and configuration settings, under app settings, add this value. Click save button. Okay. If we go to run on agent, so here run on agent, I'm just taking on the default value. If we see the agent section, agent pool has got hosted Windows this one, because if I select other options, I'm getting some weird error message. So selecting that hosted one. So now go back to pipelines. Oh no, release. I'm on release pipeline. So go back to release. This is my release pipeline. Now we are going to pipelines and select this in eShop on web dash TI. And here click on run pipeline. Here is just the pipeline version by branch. Select that main and then select run. Select that pipeline output here. Build is in progress, so wait for build to be completed. So build is completed. Go back here. Now let's go back to release section. We can see that here release in this one, deployment, analytics. Anyway, we are going to release, view release written. Okay, let's open the release here. Click edit. Try to edit pipeline. Now first check the web app now. So let's go back to portal. Go to resource group and first check the dev and test app service. Select browse. We can see that dev and test web app is running. Close this one. Go back to resource group again and check for prod one. Select browse. So you can see this prod one also web app is running fine. So now we'll configure the release gate. So for that one, let's go back to DevOps portal. And here under release, if we go there, this is the release actually here for us. So select that, no deployment font, but this one. So select that environment and click on edit release. But if I go back to previous page just to make sure, here I select and edit. Okay, so same page they are getting. Select this one, CI. Default version is latest, and we can see the source alias here. Close this button. Now this dev test environment stage, select that one, properties. Now here is the pre-deployment condition. Select that one. Now here, select that pre-deployment approval. Toggle that one to enable that one. Then here approvals, give the approvals name. This is my logging in ID here. Mm, As per the document, there are some save button should be there, not here. I think that's the top one. So select that and give some comment and approval. Okay. Now close this one and then select this create release. And you can see that two options is coming. Pipeline was dev test and then production. So click on create. Now you can see that release 2 has been created. Now to get the details, select that release 2, open into a new tab, and you can see the details here. And if you look at dev test stage, it is showing in a pending approval stage. Now select this approve button to trigger the dev test stage. Now it's giving like if you want some comment. So verified by and then here you can select approve button to trigger the stage. So approved on that one and you see that not deployed. You can see that logs here. That is expanding the window. Now let's go back to previous one. One job, one task. So if I refresh this page now, make sure that release pipeline run on agent, that you select agent pool is Azure pipeline and agent specification is Windows latest and save that one. Please select that pin ball, select approve. This one not deployed. Deploy stays pending approval. Approve. Your message, let me find the solution. Deployment failed. State edit the release. I have changed that one. Updated. Card. Go to release. Edit release. Edit tasks. Mm, Run on agent. Oh, that is wrong. Azure pipeline and Windows latest. And then save these options. Go back. Same for here. Edit. Edit release. Edit tasks. Run on agent. Select Azure pipelines. Select Windows latest and save. Save. Now refresh this one. Go to release 2. I fixed the issue. Pending approval. Approve. So it's in progress now. So both deployment completed. So now let's uh, edit. Click edit release. Edit task. If I select this one, pre-deployment, it's coming pre-deployment options, and then we go to post-deployment condition. After this dev test, select that post-deployment conditions, and post-deployment approvals. Select that and enable that one. That enabled. If the approver. Select that one. And here, what one other options is available? Approval policies. Cannot see that options here. Let me check. Edit the release pipeline. So post deployment approvals. Get the approver. Select that one. Then gates to enable gates. and there is option select. So select that, and here query Azure Monitor Alert section. We need to pass the subscription and research group. Then expand the advanced section. There is a filter type none is fine. Severity 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is also fine. Time range first hour. Alert state is acknowledged and new. Monitor condition is fired. Okay. Then expand the evaluation options. Under evaluation options, we can see that time between evaluation of gates is 50 minutes. We are going to change that to 5 minutes. Time out minimum duration for study 0. The timeout after which gets failed is 24 hours. Let's make it 8 minutes. And gets an approval, select that. On successful gets, ask for approvals. Select that one. Now that setting has been done. Save and close this one. Now to test the release gate, go back to portal. Let's go to resource group and check that dev test app service. And here you can see the default domain. It's actually showing that the hyperlink. And we can see that page is here. Now to simulate a failed request and discount to the URL will result in an error since that page does not exist. So refresh multiple times. Now search for application insights. Here you can see that one. Already got that for this particular application. So search from here, application insights. Select this dev test application like insight resources. And here go to alerts. And you can see that alert message is here. So severity 2 warning showing up. Now go back to DevOps portal. And open the project. Let's go to here. You can go from there, or instead I can go to that from pipelines and releases or release. and select this create release button. Click on create. And pending approval here. You can see that one. So open, give approve. Now it's becoming, you see that evaluation gets. Now if I select that evaluation gets icon, and you can see that query Azure monitoring alerts. So initial failed state, we can see that one. And next in 5 minutes, that's in progress. Let the release pipeline remain in pending state for the next 5 minutes. So I'll be back when it will process this next phase. So here you see that it failed again after 5 minutes, and this is normal behavior in our case because alert triggered by the next exception. So query as your monitor get will fail again, and that prevents deployment to the production environment. As it failed again, so what I am done, I just ignoring gate to see that it processed to the next phase to stop in relate to query Azure Monitor metric section. Now we got a message, all gets succeeded. Close that one, and production not deployed, pending approval. Approve, approve, and I'll be back when that is completed. So this is how we can control deployment using that release gate. If you have any questions, please put into comment section. In the description, I'll put the Microsoft LAN, also GitHub repository link to follow. That's it for now. See you in next section or next lab.